My name is Adam, and I always believed I was lucky. I used to say it out loud, like saying it would make it permanent. I have a good wife, a good family, and a clean life, I would tell myself. Laura would smile when I said things like that. You're old-fashioned, she'd tease me. And proud of it, I'd reply. Back then, her laughter felt warm. It felt real. That night, we sat at the dinner table, plates still half full. Laura looked tired. You worked late again, I said. Just busy, she answered, not meeting my eyes. You should rest more, I said. I worry about you. She smiled softly. You always worry. I thought that meant love. Family dinners were loud, full of voices and rules. My father, Richard, always sat at the head of the table. Family comes first, he'd say, tapping his glass. Always. My mother, Elaine, would nod beside him. Honor is everything, she'd add. People judge us by how we stand together. I never questioned them. I agreed. I wanted to be the son they raised me to be. Daniel usually sat across from me. My cousin, my brother, and everything but bloodline. You're quiet today, he said once. Just tired, I told him. Marriage will do that, he laughed. Laura laughed too, a little too quickly. I didn't notice then. After dinner, I helped my mother clear the table. You chose well, she whispered, glancing at Laura. I know, I said. I trust her. She squeezed my arm. Trust is strength. That word stayed with me. Strength. At home, Laura leaned against me on the couch. Your parents like me, she said. They love you, I replied. She hesitated. Sometimes I feel like I don't deserve it. I turned to her. Why would you say that? She shrugged. Just a feeling. You're my wife, I said. Your family. That's everything. Daniel started coming by more often after that. Hope I'm not interrupting, he'd say at the door. Never, I told him. You're always welcome. Laura would disappear into the kitchen when he arrived. I thought she was being polite. One evening, Daniel and I stood on the balcony. You ever think about how solid your life is? He asked. I worked for it, I said. You did, he agreed. You really did. Laura called us inside. Dinner's ready, she said, her voice tight. Daniel avoided my eyes. I didn't ask why. Later, I lay beside Laura in bed. You're quiet, I said. Just tired, she replied. You say that a lot, I joked. She turned away. Don't start. I didn't. I never did. My father called me the next morning. Come by tonight, he said. For what? Family meeting, he replied. Nothing serious. At the table, my parents talked about reputation. People watch us, my father said. We don't give them reasons to talk, my mother added. I understand, I said. Daniel nodded. Laura stayed silent. On the drive home, I said they worry too much. They want what's best, Laura replied. So do I said. For us. She looked at me then, really looked at me. You're a good man, she said. I try, I answered. She swallowed hard. You don't deserve pain. I laughed. Where did that come from? She shook her head. Forget it. I didn't push. I believed love meant patience. Days passed like that. Normal. Safe. Predictable. Daniel still came over. My parents still preached unity. Laura still smiled. One afternoon, my mother pulled me aside. You protect your marriage, she said. I do, I replied. No matter what, she added. Always, I said. Daniel clapped my shoulder that night. You're lucky, he said. I know, I replied. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Take care of her. I always have, I said. Laura stood in the doorway, watching us. You okay? I asked her. Yes, she said quickly. Just thinking. About what? About how fragile things can be. I kissed her forehead. Not us. That was my mistake. I believed in walls that didn't exist. I believed loyalty was unbreakable. I believed family meant protection, not sacrifice. I believed betrayal was something that happened to other people, weaker people, careless people. I believed my life was built on truth. That night, as Laura slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling and felt proud. Proud of my name. Proud of my marriage. Proud of my family. I had no idea I was standing on the edge of something that would erase every belief I had ever held. I noticed the change before I admitted it. Laura started keeping her phone face down. When I asked, she said, work stuff. I said, okay. I told myself not to push. Trust meant space. At night, she turned away, pretending to sleep. I whispered, "Did I do something?" She said, "No." Her voice felt distant. I stared at the ceiling, telling myself marriages had quiet seasons. I believed silence could still mean love. I repeated my vows in my head, hoping repetition could turn fear into patience, and patience into safety again without questions tonight or doubt anymore inside me. At dinner I said, "You've been quiet lately." Laura shrugged. "I'm tired." I asked for me. She laughed too fast. "Don't be dramatic." I said, "I miss you." She said, "I'm right here." Her eyes stayed on her plate. I reached for her hand. She pulled away gently and said, "Not now." That hurt more than anger. I smiled anyway, pretending patience felt noble instead of lonely. I told myself love survived pauses, misunderstandings, and moods, and that commitment meant waiting without complaint even when silence felt sharp and personal and heavy tonight inside my chest with no answers yet. Daniel started coming over more. "Hope I'm not bothering you," he said. "Never," I replied. Laura avoided the room. Daniel talked too much, laughed too loud. I asked, "Everything okay?" He said, "Yeah, why?" His jaw tightened. I noticed it and ignored it. Brothers didn't hide things. Family didn't cross lines. I believed that fully. I believed loyalty had weight and history behind it. I trusted him with my home, my wife, and my name without hesitation because trust was learned young from my parents at dinner tables and never questioned until now in quiet moments alone with doubt growing. Late one night her phone buzzed. She grabbed it fast. I asked, "Who is it?" She said, "Wrong number." I said, "At midnight." She sighed. "Why are you like this?" I said, "Like what?" She said, suspicious. I apologized. "I'm just tired," I said. She turned away. I stared at the wall, feeling small and ashamed. I hated that feeling more than anger or fear combined inside me that night. I promised myself I would do better tomorrow by listening more and asking less questions so peace could return to our fragile routine without breaking trust again somehow for us. I heard voices in the hallway one night. Daniel whispered, "Not here." Laura said, "He's asleep." I froze. My heart raced. I waited. Daniel said, "This is wrong." Laura replied, "I know." I stepped back quietly. I told myself I misheard. Walls carried sound badly. I repeated, "Trust is love," until the words lost meaning. I stood alone in the dark, shaking, choosing denial because truth felt too dangerous. I convinced myself good men didn't suspect family and faithful wives didn't lie to their husbands ever, especially ones like mine who valued unity deeply above personal comfort and pride always. Daniel left early the next day. "Work," he said. Laura avoided me. I asked, "Did I do something?" She said, "Please stop." I said, "I'm trying to understand." She replied, "You're imagining problems." I nodded. I hated how easy it was to doubt myself instead of them. I wanted peace so badly I traded certainty for comfort without realizing the cost. My chest stayed tight all day, as if warning me softly that something sacred was slipping away while I smiled and complied with excuses for everyone, including myself, repeatedly until sleep finally came, bringing no relief, only dreams alone. At dinner, my father called. "Everything good?" he asked. "Yes," I lied. "Protect your marriage," he said. "Always," I answered. Laura watched me carefully. I smiled for her. Inside, something cracked. I kept choosing calm over truth, hoping denial could save us. I repeated his words after hanging up like instructions carved into stone. Honor first, feelings later, questions never. That was how I was raised and how I survived discomfort by swallowing doubt quietly until it became familiar and strangely comforting even as fear grew inside my guarded heart every passing night without answers still or confrontation from me. Laura finally said, "Stop watching me." I said, "I'm worried." She replied, "You're paranoid." I apologized again. Daniel texted her. She hid it. I pretended not to notice. Love meant trust. Trust meant silence. Silence meant safety, or so I thought then. I kept repeating those rules like prayers before sleep every night. They made sense because fear demanded structure, and structure felt like control, even when it was false. I chose belief over evidence because evidence threatened everything I thought I loved, including my identity as husband and son within that family I defended daily with quiet lies told. One night, I almost asked Daniel directly, "Is something wrong?" I imagined saying, "I didn't." I feared the answer. Laura kissed my cheek and said good night. I said good night. Her voice shook. Mine didn't. I lay awake listening to breaths and secrets between us grow heavier. My chest felt tight, but I stayed still, afraid movement would break the illusion that we were still okay and still honest together despite signs screaming otherwise. I chose hope blindly over instinct repeatedly because hope hurt less than truth possibly could at that fragile moment in our marriage that night alone. Morning came with 4 smiles. Laura said, "You okay?" I said, "Always." Daniel texted me, "Busy today?" I replied, "No problem." My hands shook. I told myself I was strong. Strong men trusted. Strong men waited. I didn't know strength could also mean denial. I dressed for work feeling like an actor playing himself poorly. Every step felt rehearsed and hollow, as if reality waited backstage for the right cue to strike. I ignored the tightening knot because work felt safer than facing questions at home about loyalty and truth that haunted me throughout the day without mercy or relief. That evening, Daniel showed up again. "Quick visit," he said. Laura stiffened. I said, "Stay for dinner." He hesitated. "I should go." I laughed. "Since when?" He looked at Laura. I didn't see it then. I chose not to. We ate quietly, forks clinking louder than conversation between us. Daniel avoided my eyes. Laura barely touched her food. I asked about work to fill space. They answered too quickly, like rehearsed lines in a bad play. I joked to keep peace. They laughed nervously and exchanged glances. I pretended not to notice my instincts screaming loudly inside my head tonight. After Daniel left, Laura said, "You're imagining things." I said, "Maybe." She said, "Trust me." I said, "I do." A minute then. I didn't know trust could rot quietly. That night, I felt something slipping away, and I let it go. I told myself love survived doubt, and patience solved everything eventually. I closed my eyes, believing tomorrow would be better, because it always had been before. I didn't know this was the beginning of the end, quietly forming beneath love and loyalty. I went to sleep unaware that my life was already shifting without permission or warning signs. Laura stood in the doorway when I came home, her hands shaking. "We need to talk," she said. "About what?" I asked. "Sit down first," she replied. I laughed lightly. "You're scaring me." She didn't laugh back. We sat at the table. She kept staring at her hands. "Just say it," I said. "I'm pregnant," she whispered. I froze. "Pregnant?" "Yes." I smiled without thinking. That's good news." She flinched. "Adam, wait." I started doing the math in my head. I didn't mean to. It just happened. "When?" I asked. 8 weeks, she said. "That's not possible," I replied. She swallowed hard. "Adam, we haven't been together in months," I said. "You said you weren't ready." Silence filled the room. My ears started ringing. "Say something," she begged. "Whose is it?" I asked quietly. She shook her head. "Laura," I said. "Whose child is it?" She started crying. Not soft crying. Broken crying. "It was a mistake," she said. "Say the name," I said. She covered her face. "Say it," I repeated. "Daniel," she whispered. The room spun. "No," I said. "I'm sorry," she cried. "No," I said again. "It only happened once," she said. I laughed, but there was no sound in it. "Once is enough." I stood up slowly. My legs felt weak. "You slept with my cousin," I said. "I didn't plan it," she replied. "You got pregnant," I said. "I didn't mean to," she sobbed. I pressed my hands against the table. "How long?" I asked. 3 months, she said. 3 months, I repeated. "I was going to tell you," she said. "When?" I asked. "I didn't know how," she replied. I stared at her. "Did he know?" I asked. "Yes," she said. "And he didn't tell me," I said. She shook her head. "You both lied," I said. "We were scared," she replied. I felt something tear inside my chest. "You looked at me every day," I said. "And you lied." "I hated myself," she said. "You let me trust you," I said. I didn't want to lose you, she cried. I walked to the sink and held the edge. My vision blurred. Get an abortion, I said without turning around. She gasped. I can't. Why? I asked. It's not the baby's fault, she replied. It's not mine either, I said. She stood up and grabbed my arm. Please, she begged. I pulled away. Don't touch me, I said. I love you, she cried. You love him enough, I replied. She fell to her knees. If people find out, everything will be ruined, she said. You already ruined it, I said. My parents will be destroyed, she said. So will I replied. She looked up at me with panic. We have to keep this quiet, she said. For the family, I repeated. Yes, she said. For everyone. I felt empty. No anger. No tears. Just hollow. You want me to raise his child, I said. She shook her head. No. You want me to pretend, I said. Yes, she whispered. I sat back down slowly. Does Daniel know? I asked. He knows everything, she said. And he agreed to this? He said it's best, she replied. I closed my eyes. My cousin, I said. He feels guilty, she said. I don't care, I replied. She crawled closer. Please don't tell your parents, she begged. They deserve to know, I said. They'll hate me, she said. They should, I replied. She grabbed my hands. I'll do anything, she said. Anything? I asked. Yes, she replied. Tell the truth, I said. She froze. I can't, she whispered. Then get away from me, I said. She shook her head violently. You'll destroy us, she said. You already did, I replied. I stood up again. I trusted you, I said. I know, she cried. I trusted him, I added. I know, she repeated. My chest hurt. My hand shook. I don't feel anything, I said. That scares me, she replied. It should, I said. She reached for my face. Please stay, she begged. I can't leave, she added. You should have thought about that, I said. She wiped her tears. We can fix this, she said. There is no fixing, I replied. Just give me time, she said. Time won't change the truth, I answered. I walked toward the bedroom. Where are you going? She asked. To sleep on the couch, I said. Don't tell anyone, she called after me. I won't, I said. Not because I forgave her. Not because I agreed. But because I didn't have the strength yet. I lay there staring at the ceiling, hearing her cry through the wall. My ears rang. My heart felt crushed. I understood something in that moment. My marriage was dead. My family was a lie. And my life, the one I believed in, had ended quietly at that table. I drove to my parents' house with my hands locked tight on the steering wheel. My chest felt heavy. I kept saying, they'll protect me, out loud like a prayer. When my mother opened the door, she smiled. You look tired, she said. I walked inside and said, we need to talk. My father looked up from his chair. What's wrong? He asked. I said, something bad. My voice shook. My mother frowned. Sit down. I sat. My father folded his hands. Speak, he said. I swallowed. Laura is pregnant, I said. My mother smiled for half a second, then stopped. That's good news, she said. I shook my head. It's not mine. Silence dropped hard. My father said, what do you mean? I said, the child is Daniel's. My mother gasped. Don't say that. My father stood. You're confused, he said. I said, I did the math. My voice cracked. She confessed. My mother covered her mouth. This can't be true, she said. I replied, it is. My father paced. Where is Daniel? He asked. Avoiding me, I said. My mother whispered, people cannot know. I stared at her. That's your first thought? She snapped. Lower your voice. My father said, sit. I said, I am sitting. He said, listen. He faced me. This ends here, he said. I blinked. What? I asked. He replied, you will stay quiet. I laughed once. No, I said. My mother rushed to me. Please, she said. This will destroy us. I said, it destroyed me. She shook her head. Think of the family name. I said, what about your son? My father said, honor comes first. The words felt sharp. I stood up. She cheated, I said, with my cousin. My father said, lower your voice. I yelled, why? My mother cried, because people talk. I said, let them. My father slammed the table. Enough, he said. Do you want everyone to suffer? I asked, do I not matter? He said, You matter when you protect us. I felt small. You want me to live a lie? I said. My mother said, it's temporary. I asked how long. She didn't answer. My father said, until the child is born. I laughed. And then, he said, we'll see. I said, you're asking me to raise my cousin's child. My mother said, no one said that. I replied, that's exactly what this is. She cried harder. Please don't ruin us. I left shaking. Outside, I called Laura. Your parents know, I said. She whispered, what did they say? I said, they want silence. She cried. Thank God, she said. That broke something. You're relieved? I asked. She said, they understand. I said, they erased me. She said, please don't fight them. I hung up. Daniel texted me. We need to talk. I replied, too late. He said, I didn't want this. I said, you chose it. He didn't reply. At home, Laura sat on the couch crying. Your mother called me, she said. She told me to be strong. I said, did she tell you about me? Laura looked down. She said sacrifices are necessary. I nodded slowly. Did she say whose sacrifice? Laura stayed quiet. That night, my parents came over. My father said, sit. I sat. My mother said, we spoke to Laura. I said, I know. My father said, this stays private. I said, I won't lie. He replied, silence isn't lying. I asked, what is it then? He said, duty. My mother said, we raised you better than this. I laughed bitterly. Better than honesty? Laura said, please listen to them. I looked at her. You chose him, I said. She cried. I chose fear. My father said, enough drama. I said, you call this drama? My mother said, you are selfish. I stared at her. Selfish? She said, you're thinking only of your pain. I replied, that's all I have left. My father said, you will stay married. I said, I can't. He said, you will. My mother added, for honor. The word tasted rotten. I asked, what happens to Daniel? My father said, we handle him privately. I laughed. Quietly, I said. He didn't deny it. Laura reached for me. I stepped away. Don't, I said. My father softened his voice. Son, he said, be strong. I asked, like you. He said, yes. I replied, strong enough to let my son be destroyed? He said, strong enough to protect the family. My mother whispered, we need you. I said, you need my silence. She nodded. Yes. Something inside me collapsed. I felt empty. I said, fine. Everyone froze. My father said, you agree? I nodded. I'll stay quiet. Laura cried in relief. My mother hugged me. I didn't move. My father said, you did the right thing. I thought, no, I didn't. I did the easy thing for them. They left. Laura said, thank you. I looked at her and felt nothing. I walked to the bedroom. I locked the door. I sat on the floor. I realized I wasn't son. I wasn't a husband. I was a shield. I was something people hid behind. That night, something died quietly inside me, and no one noticed because silence looks the same as strength from the outside. I stayed. That was the first lie I told myself every morning. Laura acted normal, cooking breakfast, asking, did you sleep okay? I answered, fine, without looking at her. She touched my arm once. I stepped away. Sorry, she said. I replied, don't. The silence between us felt thick. At night, she talked about baby names. I said nothing. She noticed. You hate me, she whispered. I said, I don't feel anything. That was worse. I felt like a stranger in my own house, moving, breathing, existing without living. At dinner, she said, my parents are coming over Sunday. I asked why. She said, we have to look normal. I laughed softly. Normal died already. She cried. Please don't do this, she said. I replied, I'm not doing anything. She said, you're punishing me. I answered, I'm surviving. She stopped talking. So did I. Silence became routine. Silence became safer than words that could break us further. Daniel came by one evening. Hey, he said. I'll leave, I replied. He blocked the door. We need to talk. I said, there's nothing left. He whispered, I'm sorry. I looked at him. That word means nothing now. He said, I never wanted to hurt you. I replied, you just did. He nodded. I'll fix it. I said, You already broke it. He left without another word. Laura watched from the kitchen, shaking. Family dinners felt like poison. My mother smiled too much. You look tired, she said. I replied, I am. My father said, stay strong. I said, I am. Daniel avoided my eyes. Laura kept touching her stomach. My mother said, the baby is a blessing. I clenched my jaw. For who? I asked quietly. She ignored me. My father changed the subject. I realized then I didn't exist at that table anymore. After dinner, my mother pulled me aside. You're doing well, she whispered. At what? I asked. She said, keeping the peace. I said, I'm dying. She frowned. Don't exaggerate. I replied, that's easy to say when you're not the sacrifice. She walked away. I stood alone in the hallway, feeling invisible. I met Emma the next day. She looked at me and said, what happened? I said, nothing. She shook her head. You don't look alive. I laughed weakly. I'm breathing. She said, that's not the same. We sat in silence. She said, talk. I said, I can't. She replied, try. I told her everything. She didn't interrupt. When I finished, she said, you don't deserve this. I said, everyone says I do. She said they're wrong. I asked, how do you live after something like this? Emma said, one breath at a time. I said, I feel empty. She said, that's grief. I said, I'm still married. She said, that doesn't mean you're not alone. I looked at her and felt something crack. I don't recognize myself, I said. She replied, that means you're changing. I didn't know if that was hope or fear. At home, Laura said, where were you? I replied, out. She said, with who? I answered, a friend. She looked hurt. You don't talk to me anymore. I said, you don't hear me anymore. She cried. I'm trying, she said. I replied, so am I. The lie burned my throat. I wasn't trying. I was disappearing. The baby started kicking. Laura grabbed my hand. Feel that, she said. I pulled away. Don't, I said. She froze. It's innocent, she whispered. I said, so was I. She covered her face. I walked out. I sat in my car for hours, staring at nothing. I wondered how something could be alive inside my house while I felt dead. Daniel texted, family meeting tonight. I replied, I'm busy. He said, please. I ignored him. My father called. You're avoiding us, he said. I replied, I'm protecting myself. He said, that's selfish. I hung up. My hand shook. I asked myself when self-respect became selfishness. No one answered. At night, Laura whispered, do you still love me? I stared at the ceiling. I don't know, I said. She cried quietly. Say something, she begged. I said, I miss who I was. She asked, before me? I said, before lies. She turned away. We slept back to back like strangers sharing a grave. I started questioning everything. Love felt weak. Loyalty felt foolish. Honor felt cruel. I asked myself, what am I worth? The answer scared me because it felt like nothing. I went through days on autopilot. Work, home, silence. I stopped smiling. People noticed. They asked, are you okay? I said, fine. That word lost all meaning. One evening, Emma texted, you don't have to vanish. I stared at the message. Laura was in the kitchen humming. I felt like a ghost watching a life that wasn't mine anymore. I realized staying quiet didn't make me strong. It erased me. I was still breathing, still walking, still married, but I was already gone. And the worst part was no one seemed to notice except me. I met Emma at the park, sitting on the bench where we used to play as kids. She looked at me and said, Adam, you're dying inside, and no one notices. I laughed bitterly. I'm surviving. She shook her head. No, you're not. Silence is killing you. I stared at her. She didn't flinch. You can't fix this by pretending. I said, pretending is all I have left. She leaned forward. It's not pretending. It's suffocating. You need air. I wanted to argue. I wanted to say my family was everything, that honor mattered, that love required endurance. But something in her eyes stopped me. I can't leave them, I whispered. You don't have to leave them, she said. You have to leave yourself trapped. I sat back. The words sank in. Leave myself trapped. I had been a prisoner in my own house in my own life. I had been obeying rules that erased me. I asked, how do I start? She smiled softly. By choosing yourself first. Choosing myself. The words felt foreign. Scary. Liberating. I had spent my life obeying others, bending to expectations, swallowing betrayal, and pretending it didn't hurt. For the first time, I considered walking toward me instead of everyone else. I met Mark that afternoon. Emma had insisted. Trust him, she said. Mark's office smelled like polished wood and leather. He looked at me with professional curiosity. Adam, what's the situation? I swallowed. My wife, she's pregnant. Not mine. My cousin is involved. My parents forced me to stay silent. Mark nodded slowly. You're not the first client with that problem, he said. But you deserve options. I asked, what can I do? He leaned forward. First, document everything. Every message, every conversation, every date. Protect yourself legally. You can't fight if you don't have evidence. Second, know your rights in marriage, custody, and family obligations. You don't have to stay invisible. I listened closely. Every word felt like armor. I had been soft, invisible, afraid to make a sound. And now I realized I could be careful and strong at the same time. I left his office with a notebook. I started documenting. Every lie, every excuse, every hidden message. My hand shook. Each page made me feel lighter, like I was exhaling years of pain. I stopped writing when the ink ran low and stared at the ceiling that night. I realized I wasn't begging for love anymore. I wasn't trying to earn forgiveness or trust. I was claiming myself. At home, Laura asked, where have you been? I said, out. She frowned. You've changed. I smiled faintly. I realized I have to. She didn't ask more. Daniel sent a text. Family meeting tomorrow. Don't forget. I deleted it. Not rudely, just erased it quietly. My parents didn't notice. Laura didn't notice. I was invisible, but in a new way. Not as a victim, but as someone planning, quietly, carefully. I began planning small steps. Calls to lawyers, research online, careful recording of conversations. I moved cautiously. No declarations. No confrontations. Just preparation. Every detail mattered. Every secret I kept mattered. For the first time, I felt power without rage. I wasn't seeking revenge. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I was trying to survive with myself intact. I called Emma one night. It feels strange, I said. I'm not running yet. I'm not shouting. I'm just me. She laughed softly. That's progress. I nodded. I've been asking for love, for validation, for peace. I realize now I need protection first. Myself first. She said, exactly. That's the first step to everything else. I smiled faintly. It feels right. The baby's kicks came again. Laura pressed my hand. I let it hover there without touching. I feel it, she whispered. I said, I notice. No more pretending excitement. No more forced smiles. Awareness without ownership. The child was innocent, but it was a reminder. A reminder that I've been silent for everyone except me. I started sleeping differently. Alert, not angry, not numb. I observed, listened, and planned. Every conversation, every visit from Daniel, every glance from my parents became a note in my mind. Every moment was a brushstroke in a picture I alone would decide to finish. I stopped waiting for permission to breathe. I stopped waiting for approval. Emma's words echoed. Silence is killing you. I realized that was true. Silence had made me disappear. Silence had given my life to others. But now, quietly, I chose to reclaim it. Not with confrontation yet. Not with confession. But with awareness, preparation, and control. I was still trapped in my house, still forced to smile at betrayal, still forced to play a role. But inside, I was alive for the first time in months. I wasn't a son or a husband anymore in my mind. I was myself. That choice was subtle, unannounced, but it was mine. And for the first time since discovering the truth, I felt that maybe freedom didn't need to be loud. Maybe survival didn't require rage. Maybe claiming myself quietly was enough. I closed my notebook that night. I placed it under my bed. Laura slept beside me. Daniel didn't exist in my thoughts. My parents' words echoed dimly. But I knew the next steps were mine. I didn't plan them all. I didn't announce them. I just prepared. And that quiet preparation felt like life again, fragile but mine, and it was enough to keep breathing without disappearing completely. I noticed it first at work. Daniel was distracted, checking his phone constantly. You okay? I asked. He jumped. Yeah, he said quickly. I watched him fumble with papers, miss deadlines, make mistakes he never would before. Daniel, I said softly, you're slipping. He looked at me. I'm fine, he replied, avoiding my eyes. I didn't push. I didn't need to. The weight of his guilt was obvious in every trembling hand, every missed call, every distracted glance. I realized then that life had a way of balancing itself, quietly. At home, Laura was fragile. She cried over nothing, laughed nervously at jokes that weren't funny, and constantly wiped her hands as if trying to erase something invisible. Adam, I'm sorry, she said while folding laundry. I said, for what? She said, everything. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Her eyes betrayed her. Her trembling hands betrayed her. The child in her womb was innocent, but the way she carried it, the panic, the guilt, the desperation, was a mirror of their shared betrayal. Rumors started too. Neighbors whispered behind their hands. I overheard them at the grocery store. I heard something. It's all over town, my parents panicked. My father called me into the study. Adam, do you know what people are saying? I said yes. He said, this can't happen. You understand? I said, I understand perfectly. My mother paced. Our reputation, she began. I interrupted. Your reputation is cracking. You're scared. Good. You should be. You built this on lies. She gasped. You shouldn't speak like that. I said, I'm observing. I'm not speaking. Just facts. Daniel tried to avoid me entirely, but I didn't let him. Daniel, did you finish the report? I asked one morning. He stammered. I'll do it today, he said. I nodded slowly. You should focus, I said. He left without a word. The guilt was visible in his shoulders, in his pacing, in the way he avoided the elevator where I stood. I didn't taunt him. I didn't need to. The cracks in his composure were punishment enough. Karma was quiet, but it was effective. At home, Laura's hand shook while making tea. She asked, Are you mad at me? I said, I stopped feeling that. She looked hurt. Then what do you feel? I said, observant, distant, alive. She said nothing. She realized, finally, that I had retreated entirely into myself, that I was no longer begging for explanations or pleading for normalcy. That alone seemed to terrify her. Her guilt and panic grew without intervention. I didn't give her comfort. I didn't need to. My parents began fighting quietly. We have to fix this, my mother said. We can't control everything, my father replied. I overheard them while pretending to read a book in the next room. Their perfect image was collapsing, and I didn't have to touch it. I didn't smile or laugh. I simply watched. Every flinch, every raised voice, every tense pause was satisfying. Not for cruelty, but for clarity. The world they built on lies was breaking, and I was finally free of it. At a family gathering, Daniel arrived late, sweating, avoiding eye contact. My mother whispered, Be calm. I said nothing. My father muttered, Everything must appear fine. I observed them, detached, counting their breaths, their missteps, their desperate attempts to maintain control. I didn't interfere. I didn't need to. The truth had a way of seeping through walls, through whispers, through nervous laughter. I smiled faintly inside. Their panic, their guilt, their failed performances. They were consequences quiet and inevitable. One night, Laura tried to speak. Adam, I interrupted gently. No, I'm listening, but I'm not participating. She froze. Why are you like this? I said, because I finally chose to exist for myself. She stared at me, confusion and fear in her eyes. You're not the same, she whispered. I said I am, just alive for the first time in months. She didn't respond. She didn't need to. She realized I had retreated so completely that she had no power over me anymore. Daniel tried to apologize once. I didn't mean for, I stopped him. I know, you still did it. He nodded, silent. No excuses, no pleading, just silence. I understood his guilt was consuming him slowly. I didn't mock him. I didn't congratulate him. I simply watched. Every slip at work, every nervous glance, Every tense word he mumbled was punishment enough. Karma had a rhythm. I didn't have to intervene. I only had to wait. At another dinner, my parents tried to maintain civility. Adam, smile, my mother said. I replied, I'm observing. She frowned. My father added, act normal. I said I am. That's all I can do. Their faces fell slightly. I realized they were used to me performing, obeying, hiding, swallowing discomfort. Now I merely existed. I ate quietly. I spoke when spoken to. I didn't participate in their control. They flinched at my calmness. The baby's movements became louder. Laura, try to share them with me. Feel it, Adam, she said. I let my hand hover over her stomach without touching. I notice, I said. She recoiled slightly. I didn't apologize. I didn't offer comfort. I didn't need to. She realized fully that my detachment was permanent, that her manipulations, her apologies, her tears, they couldn't pull me back. Rumors continued. Neighbors whispered. Daniel's mistakes became more noticeable. My parents' attempts to control appearances faltered. I stayed calm. I stayed distant. Every conversation, every lie they tried to maintain, every nervous glance from Laura, every flinch from Daniel, it reinforced that I was reclaiming control quietly. I didn't announce it. I didn't act out. I simply existed, alive in my own skin, detached but vigilant. By the end of the week, the cracks widened. My parents fought more, whispered louder. Daniel's guilt showed openly. Laura's panic grew. And me? I felt stronger with every step back I took from them, every retreat into myself. I realized I didn't have to expose anyone. Karma was quiet, but it worked. I wasn't part of their chaos anymore. I was watching it, alive, aware, and unshakable. I lay in bed that night, Laura sleeping beside me, unaware I had already detached entirely. Daniel's texts went unanswered. My parents' orders echoed faintly in my mind, but I no longer obeyed. I'd stepped back, and in doing so, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Power without rage, calm without fear, observation without pain. Their lies were collapsing. I was finally free. Silent karma was working, and I didn't have to lift a finger. Laura stood at the door, trembling. Adam, please, I can't do this anymore, she whispered. I didn't move. I didn't invite her in. I said, say it. She took a deep breath. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Her voice cracked, tears spilling freely. I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have done it. I nodded slowly. Do you know what you've done? She shook her head. I understand now, she said. Please forgive me. I looked at her. My chest felt empty. I said, you broke me. She flinched. I didn't mean. I stopped her. Intent doesn't matter. Action does. You made me invisible in my own life. Daniel appeared at the edge of the room. Adam, I was wrong. It was a mistake, he said, voice low. I looked at him quietly. A mistake. I asked. A mistake is spilling coffee. A mistake is forgetting a meeting. You broke a life. You broke trust. And yes, that's worse than 1,000 small mistakes. He looked down, ashamed. I never wanted to hurt you, he said. I nodded once. Intentions are not excuses, Daniel. He swallowed hard. What do you want me to say? I said truth. Nothing else. Truth is enough. My parents followed soon after. My father said, Adam, please, we can fix this. I said, fix this? What is there to fix? You asked me to live a lie. You asked me to sacrifice myself for your image. My mother's eyes filled with tears. We wanted to protect the family, she said. I said, protecting the family doesn't erase a life, doesn't erase a soul. My father whispered, we didn't know how else to handle it. I said, you could have protected me first, but you didn't. You chose image over your son. That's the truth. Laura knelt, tears soaking the floor. Adam, please. I'll do anything to make it right, she begged. I looked at her quietly. Anything? I asked. She nodded. Anything. I can change. I can. I shook my head slowly. Change doesn't erase the past. Actions cannot undo what has been done. You can only live with it, like I am now living with it. She buried her face in her hands. Daniel's voice trembled. Adam, I'm sorry every day. I regret it. I can't take it back. I said, no, you can't. And that's the point. Regret is heavy. It's yours to carry, not mine. He looked crushed. I didn't comfort him. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I simply existed. Quiet, firm, unbroken by their pleas. My calm was my power, and they felt it immediately. My father stepped forward. Adam, we failed you. Please, help us repair things. We don't want to lose you. I said, I'm already lost. Not to you, but to the family you made me invisible in. I cannot repair what you broke with lies and silence. You cannot ask me to fix your failures. I am not your tool, not your shield. My mother trembled. Please, Adam, for all of us. I looked at her eyes and said, I am looking at all of you, and what I see is fear, not remorse. I see desperation, not truth. And it is not my job to fix your weakness. Laura sobbed quietly. Adam, I love you. I never wanted to hurt you. Please, please forgive me. I said, love is not enough. Words are not enough. Actions speak louder than pleas. You both acted, and now I live with the consequence. That is reality. I saw her chest heave. She wanted more, begged more, but I stayed calm. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult. I didn't cry. I let the quiet hit them harder than anything I could shout. Daniel whispered, I just want a chance. I said, you had every chance before, Daniel. You blew it. This is not about giving chances. This is about understanding consequence. The world does not reset because you regret. It moves forward, dragging us along with it. He nodded, his face pale. He understood that my calm was not weakness. My calm was the weight of everything they had done, collected, observed, and finally revealed silently. My parents tried again. Adam, we can make it right somehow, my father said. I replied, making it right is not my burden. Your choices are yours. I am not the savior of your lies. You asked me to repair trust that no longer exists. That's cruel. My mother whimpered. We didn't mean, I said, meaning is irrelevant. Meaning does not undo the betrayal. It only proves it existed. Laura's tears flowed freely. Adam, I can't live without you, she said. I looked at her. You cannot live without me? Then maybe you do not love me. Maybe you only loved the version of me you imagined before your choices destroyed reality. She flinched. I love you. I do. I can't bear it. I said, and yet, you bore me silently, crush me silently, force me to disappear silently. Your love is meaningless if it destroys the person you claim to care for. Daniel took a shaky step forward. Adam, I can't take back what I did, but I will. I'll live differently. I'll fix myself. I said, fixing yourself is your path, Daniel. Do not bring me into it. Do not expect me to guide it. Your redemption is yours, not mine. He nodded again, ashamed. The truth hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. My parents begged one final time. Adam, please for the family, my father said. I said, I'm not part of this family anymore, not in the way you need. I'm not a tool. I'm not a ghost to haunt your image. I exist. That is all. The rest is yours to bear. My mother fell silent, tears streaming. My voice remained steady, calm, unyielding. That was the hardest truth for them. I was no longer theirs to control. Laura whispered brokenly, Adam, I can't stop crying. I said, then cry. Let out. But know this, crying does not erase what happened. Pleading does not erase what happened. Silence and calm do not erase what happened. Only life moves forward, and I will move forward. You all can choose your own path. I have chosen mine. Daniel's head hung. My parents' faces were pale, taut. Laura clung to herself. I didn't offer comfort. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't curse. I didn't strike. I simply spoke the truth, quietly, firmly, unshakably. My calm was heavier than anger. My calm revealed every lie, every betrayal, every silence that had suffocated me. They had begged. They had pleaded. They had begged for forgiveness. I gave them nothing but observation and truth. I said softly, I am done. I am alive now, in the quiet, in the space you never allowed me. I will no longer bend to fear, guilt, or expectation. I will exist. That is enough. No one moved. No one spoke. The weight of their actions, mirrored in my calm, was stronger than any anger I could have unleashed. And for the first time in years, I felt free. Not loud, not violent, not vindictive, but free because truth, once spoken calmly, carries a force no apology can erase. I packed my things quietly. Emma helped me, carrying boxes while I collected memories I no longer wanted to keep. "Are you sure?" she asked. I nodded. "I've waited too long. I can't stay in a house built on lies and silence." Laura came to the door. "Adam, where are you going?" I said, "Somewhere I exist." She reached for me. I stepped back. "Don't touch me," I said. "I'm not yours anymore." She shook, tears streaming. I don't understand." I said, "You will. Eventually." My parents appeared, panic on their faces. "Adam, please," my father began. I looked at him calmly. "Please what? Continue controlling me? Continue pretending this is a family when it's only an image?" My mother's lips quivered. "We raise you, we love you," she said. I said, "Love doesn't erase betrayal. Duty doesn't erase suffocation. I am leaving." They stared at me as if the words themselves could break me. They could not. Daniel called. "Adam, wait. Don't leave like this." I said, "Leave like this. It's my choice, Daniel. I will not bend to the consequences of your mistakes or your cowardice. I exist. That is all." He didn't reply. He didn't need to. I knew his guilt was heavy and it would stay with him. I wasn't the one to carry it. Not anymore. Emma stayed close, silent support. I realized I had no one else I could trust. No family. No wife. No cousin. Only her. "Are you scared?" she asked. I shook my head. "I'm ready. I've never been more myself." She smiled faintly. "Then let's go." I looked around the empty house one last time. Every picture, every memory, every lie I had lived under, I left it behind. The air felt lighter. The walls no longer suffocated me. On the street, the wind hit my face. I breathed deeply. Freedom was bitter and sweet. I had nothing. My home, my name, my place in the family, all gone. But I had myself, and that was enough. Emma linked her arm with mine. "We'll be okay," she said. I smiled faintly. "We will, because I finally chose me." Daniel's life began to unravel quietly. I read messages and glimpsed social media posts, but I didn't interfere. Mistakes at work, whispers among friends, subtle isolation. He faced consequences on his own. I didn't gloat. I didn't intervene. I simply observed from afar. Karma had its way without my hand. I felt a strange satisfaction in knowing balance was restoring itself. Laura's face appeared in my thoughts. Alone, regret painting every expression. She reached for apologies that no one would answer anymore. I didn't call. I didn't check. I didn't need closure from her. She had hers. I had mine. The child she carried was her own responsibility now. I wasn't the one to shape her path, or hers, or anyone else's. My parents' image crumbled quietly. Social circles whispered. Friends noticed tension. The family they had tried to protect with lies and silence was exposed in small cracks. I didn't rejoice. I felt only quiet acknowledgement. They had asked me to sacrifice myself for honor. I refused. Now, they lived with the shame they had feared, and I was alive. That was all I needed. We rented a small apartment. It was modest, but mine. Emma arranged the furniture. I unpacked slowly, carefully. I put away memories of betrayal, folding them into boxes I would never open. "Adam," she said, "do you feel free?" I sat on the edge of the bed. "Yes, but strange. I lost everything, and yet I feel lighter than I have in years." She smiled. "Sometimes survival means letting go of everything you loved." I nodded. The truth hit hard, but it was liberating. That night, I sat by the window, watching the city lights. Quiet, distant, peaceful. I thought of Daniel stumbling through his own guilt, Laura trapped in regret, my parents facing the consequences of their pride. And me? I felt no anger, no revenge, no longing. Just clarity. I had walked away with nothing but myself, and that was victory. I called Emma over. "Come sit," I said. She smiled and leaned against me. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'm okay," I said. I had survived, intact, unbroken. The pain of betrayal remained, but it no longer controlled me. I was no one's shadow, no one's tool, no one's prisoner. I existed. We made simple meals. We laughed quietly. I didn't forget the past. I acknowledged it. But I didn't live in it. I didn't cling to anger. I didn't let guilt seep in. I had been given a second chance at myself, and I intended to live it fully. I had discovered a truth. Survival sometimes required walking away from everything you loved, and that was not weakness. It was courage. The apartment felt like home, finally. Emma and I sat in silence, comfortable. I didn't need to speak. I didn't need approval. I didn't need forgiveness. I had chosen myself, and that choice was enough. I finally understood what it meant to be free, to survive, to exist. And in the quiet of the night, I smiled softly. I had nothing but myself, but that nothing felt like everything. For the first time in years, I could breathe, unburdened, unafraid, and entirely alive. The past belonged to them. The future was mine, and I was ready. I wake up to sunlight spilling through the curtains. The room is small, simple, barely furnished, but it's mine. I stretch and feel my body, my breath, my presence. For years, I lived under the weight of betrayal, silence, and expectations that were never mine. Now I'm free. Emma is still asleep beside me. I watch her chest rise and fall, steady and calm. Morning, I whisper. She stirs and smiles faintly. Morning, she replies. No tension, no lies, just quiet existence. I make breakfast. Toast, eggs, coffee. Emma hums a soft tune. I smile faintly. You always do that when you're happy. I ask. She shrugs. Maybe. It's peaceful. I nod. Peace. Something I never knew I could feel. The apartment is quiet, and I appreciate every small sound. The city hums outside, indifferent, alive. I sip coffee, letting the warmth settle in. I feel a strange gratitude, not for what I have, but for what I've reclaimed, myself. Work calls later. I answer calmly. Adam here. Morning, a client says. I give instructions, solve problems, listen carefully. I realize I'm no longer trying to impress anyone. No parents, no cousin, no wife, only my integrity. I end the call with a soft, thank you, and lean back. My life is small but mine. I feel that subtle thrill of control that comes from living honestly for the first time. I no longer chase approval. I no longer bend for acceptance. Emma sits beside me at the kitchen table. Do you ever think about them? She asks. I nod slowly. All the time. Daniel, Laura, my parents, their choices shaped me. They broke me. But breaking isn't always destruction. Sometimes it's transformation. She looks at me curiously. You feel stronger? I smile faintly. I do. Not because I hate them. Not because I seek revenge. But because I chose myself. For the first time in years, I live for me, not anyone else's expectations. I recall Laura's tears, Daniel's guilt, my parents' panic. At the time, I felt hollow, suffocated, erased. But now, from a distance, I understand something crucial. The pain was mine to process, but I didn't have to carry anyone else's shame. I survived. I built boundaries. I learned that self-worth isn't given, it's claimed. And I claim mine quietly, deliberately, without screaming, without proving anything to anyone. Later, Emma and I walk through the park. Trees sway gently. Children laugh. Couples stroll hand in hand. I watch, detached yet present. Do you miss it? She asks. The family, the life? I shake my head. No, not really. I miss the idea of family. Maybe, but reality was suffocating. I had to let it go. She nods. And you're okay? I smile softly. I am. For the first time in years, I'm okay. I reflect on the betrayal that shaped me. I remember the shock, the quiet rage, the suffocating silence imposed by my parents. I remember living like a ghost while they lived comfortably, unaware of the destruction they caused. And yet, I don't hate them. I don't crave revenge. Hatred keeps you tethered. I want none of that. I only want life, my own, untangled from manipulation and deceit. Even a child I never claimed, the one Laura carried, its existence doesn't haunt me anymore. I acknowledge it without attachment. It was a symbol, not a chain. Daniel faces the world now. Consequences quiet but inevitable. Laura faces hers. My parents bear the weight of shame they feared most. And I bear my life fully. My choices, my freedom, my boundaries. That is enough. That is victory. I prepare dinner. Emma chats about work, plans for the weekend. I listen, laugh quietly. I speak when needed, but mostly I observe. Each day is small, unremarkable, but it is mine. I no longer chase grandeur, approval, or perfection. I no longer live for image or loyalty to illusions. I live simply, calmly, fiercely, aware, present, and alive. At night, I sit by the window, looking at the city lights. Adam, Emma whispers. Yes. Are you happy? I pause. Happiness is subtle now, not explosive. I am, I say. Not because life gave me everything, but because I took back what was mine myself. I survived. I chose boundaries. I chose peace. I chose me. She rests her head on my shoulder. That's brave, she says. I nod. Brave doesn't always roar. Sometimes brave whispers, and sometimes brave walks away. I think about the past, about betrayal, lies, and silence. It shaped me. It hurt me, but didn't destroy me. I rebuilt myself from nothing. Nothing but my thoughts, my choices, my resolve. I have no accolades, no riches, no title. But I have life. I have integrity. I have freedom. I have self-respect. That is enough. That is everything. I breathe deeply, feeling the air, feeling the quiet, feeling myself. I understand something fundamental now. Some losses are necessary for survival. Some walls must fall so you can build your own. Some people must leave so you can learn to stay. And I chose myself. I chose life over obedience, honesty over pretense, freedom over comfort. That choice is mine and mine alone. I glance at Emma. Thank you for staying, I say. She smiles softly. You never had to ask me. I chose to. I nod. The night is quiet. The city hums. I feel my pulse steady. I feel my presence solid. I'm alive. Fully, truly, entirely. I close my eyes and smile faintly. The journey was brutal. The betrayal, suffocating. The silence, unbearable. And yet I survived. I rebuilt. I chose myself. That is the bravest act of my life. No one gave it to me. No one could take it. And finally, for the first time in years, I am whole.